Boker Tov. Today's daf is Daf Hay in Nidrim. He's willing for a poor shlama for Elazar ben Reuma. So the Gemara was discussing on Daf Dalam and Beis in yesterday's daf. Shmuel had said that in our Mishnah, when it says in the Mishnah, there were like groups of phrases of the Adot. The first group was Mudranim Cham, Fashanim Cham, Chanim Cham, removed from you in any way. And then it adds on Shani Yochel Lecha, Shani Tom Lecha, Osir. And I have to add on, like the two phrases go together, like you have choice of the first three and then a choice of the other two, but you got to combine them together. That's what Shmuel apparently said. That if you don't, you have to say Mudranim Cha, Shani Yochel Lecha. Then it's Osir. Then it's Osir. Otherwise, if you only said part of it, it doesn't work. So the Gemara says that doesn't seem to be the case because we find in Brises where it's also if you just say the words Mudranim Cha or you just say the words Shani Tom Lecha, any one of those. You don't need the beginning phrase and the ending phrase where you talk about eating, right? Even if you had part of the phrase or one phrase, and it was the first group of phrases of Mudranim Cha, Shani Cha, take that group alone, and then you have Shani Yochel Lecha, Shani Tom that I eat from you. Shmuel apparently said you have to have a combination of both phrases, one of the first three, let's say, and one of the last two. Otherwise, it doesn't work. That's what he said. The Gemara seemed to disprove that. So the Gemara at the bottom of the page of Dalet Amud Beis, the Gemara said, no, Elamai, what Shmuel must be, this is what Shmuel meant to say. That if he says, I'm separated from you, let's call the word sim, I'm prohibited from you. I'm prohibited from you in one of those Lashonas, Mudranim Cham, Fashanim Cham, Chanim Cham, I'm prohibited from you. If he adds on Shani Yochel, then I'm not going to eat from you. Oh, okay. Then it's only referring to the food, right? Right? But if he just says, meaning if he says, then it works that Reuben says to Shimon, I am prohibited from you from eating for you. Okay, then I can't eat your food. But Shimon can have food from Reuven. The other way around, it works. In other words, as we'll see the moder, the noder, the one who makes the vow, we'll call him the vower, and then the mutter, the object of the vow. So if Reuben says, I am prohibited from you from eating from you, okay, so Reuben's prohibited from eating from Shimon, but not Shimon from Reuven. Avol, at the top of today's daf, at the top of Haman Aleph, if he just says, I'm prohibited from you, I am devoured or debarred or whatever, I'm prohibited from you in some way, lechude, then shein, so they're both osir. Now again, we said, when we say that it's osir, I can prohibit anything in the world from me. I could say I don't want to have enough from the shul, I don't want from the Gemara, anything could be osir to me. But I cannot prohibit you except for my things. My things could be prohibited from you. That I'm allowed to do. We'll talk about that later on, what the drush is for that. So at this point, we're saying, what did Shmuel say when he said you have to say both things? Both things, meaning if you say both things, then Reuben's prohibited from Shimon, and Shimon's prohibited from Reuben. But if he just says it's stam, mudranim cha, I'm prohibited for you, then both are asur. Reuben can't have enough from Shimon's assets, and Shimon can't have enough from Reuben's assets, which is a little bit strange because it doesn't seem to flow in the words. Again, the top of the page, and he brings proof with Shmuel now, who's an Amora. The Gemara is according to this. This is in sync with what Rabbi Yosef B'chini the Tana said, that Mudrani Hemecho Shneim Asurim. That's what Rabbi Yosef B'chini said. That if you just say the words Mudrani Mecha, I'm prohibited from you, that means you're prohibited from me too. That's what it seems to be. They're both Asur, which is the Chor of Big Chiddush. This is where this is where yesterday's stop took us to. Now we'll start from the third line on Haman Aleph. Tanan. Mishnah says later on Daf Mem Zayin as follows: Hareini Alecha Chayrim, I am a prohibited on you. Hamudar Asur, the object. In other words, the man's Reuben says to Shimon, you can't have any pleasure from me. I am to you like a chayrim, like a prohibition, like hegdish, like kadosh. That means you can't have any of my assets. Well, abel madrlo, but not the vower, not the one who made the vow. Why? According to what Shmuel, the way we just interpreted Shmuel, again, we're still in the interim phrase. We've had two explanations of Shmuel. One, Shmuel said that you have to say both phrases, the beginning and end phrase together, otherwise it doesn't hold. We dismissed that. Apparently, we dismissed that at least part at this point, and we said no. If you just said Mudranim Cha, the first phrase alone, they're both asur. Here, the Mishnah seems to say otherwise. Mishnah says, if I am a chayim on you, that means you, Shimon, cannot have enough from me. Okay, Shimon can have from me, but the matter is mutter. Reuben can have enough from Shimon. According to what you just said, Mudrani Memcha, Mudrani Hemecha, I'm prohibited from you. They're both usher upon one another. This doesn't make sense. Of Matalo. The other says, no, the Mishnah is speaking out, it's a dochik answer, could go into Parish, it's where he said specifically, Ba'atalai lo. In other words, I'm prohibited, you can't have enough from me. I am to you like Hektish, but you are not prohibited to me. In other words, I could have enough from you. Could go into Parish and you, Ba'atalai lo. No, you are not Hektish to me. You are not holy to me. I could have pleasure from you. Okay, dochik answer. The Mishnah goes on, Atalai Chayrim. You are a chayrim on me. That means I can't have enough from you. You are like kadosh to me. You are hegdish to me. Hanoder usher. The bower is usher. Reuben says to Shimon, you are like hegdish to me. That means I can't have enough from you. Abel modulo. But the Shimon can have enough from Reuben. Again, goes against the idea. If you say midranim means they're both usher, why are they not both usher? Same dochik answer. Go to Parish. It's where Reuben said, "Ba'ano lechalo." Okay, that I am not a prohibited you. You are hegdish to me. I can't have enough from you, Shimon. But you are not, but I am not hegdish to you. You could still have enough from me. I just can't have enough from you. Okay, the Mishnah doesn't say those words, or in the first case, we're giving that as an answer and saying that's what it means. Aval stama, if you didn't say ana alechalo, or in the first case, atolai lo, I just said stam, hareni alecha chayrim, or hare atolai chayrim, then my Shnei and Asur, they're both prohibited one from another, like we just seemed to say before in Rabbi Yosef Chanina and Shmuel. But a Midiktani Sefer, the Sefer at the end of the Mishnah there says, Hareini Alecha Va'atolai, I am Hegdish to you and you are Hegdish to me. Right? I am Hegdish to you means you can't have it from me. You are Hegdish to me, I can't have it from you. Shnei and Asurin. Hadein Hu Shnei Asurin, only if I said specifically, I am Asur to you and you are Asur to me. Hastama. But stam, who also b'chaver mutter. If I just said stam, hareini olecha. If I just said stam hareini olecha, it's mashma that I one's also b'chaver mutter. In other words, I just said hareini olecha chayrim, right? That means to say that the mutter is also who also b'chaver mutter. Or if I said harei at alai chayrim, you are also to me, right? I can't have enough of the other one's mutter. In other words, only one's also one's mutter, not they're both. So from the Mishnah, it's mashma that if you just said stam mutter, one said mutter and one did not. You didn't say it both ways. Only one's also not the other one. Elahochi itmar. But rather, this is what we have to say. We're about the 10th line down on Hayam and Aleph.
I don't understand that if you just look at the lesson of what he's saying, you see that he's referring to himself or he's referring to his partner.
That's
his
right.
friend.
That's right.
I don't see
that's exactly what the Gemara says. That's exactly what the Gemara is saying. How does it make sense to say Mudrani Hemecha means both? Just means me or you, either you or me and you. That's exactly what the Gemara says. That's logic. You're asking exactly what the Gemara says. Well, because the Gemara at the top of the page, which you should learn on top yesterday, said, what did Shmuel say? What did Shmuel say when he said it has to be both? The Kulan, it's only us in our Mishnah if you say Mudrarimcha Shani Ochalacha. So what does that mean? You have to say both phrases? But it's mashma from the Bryce that you don't have to have both phrases. The other Bryce that he brought down on Amit Bey is mashma. You don't have to have both phrases. So what did Shmuel say? Oh, maybe this is what he meant to say. That if you said Mudrarimcha Shani Ochalacha, okay, that means that I can't eat from you. But if I said Mudrarimcha alone, then it means both. But this doesn't logically it doesn't work. Elahochi itmar. This is what Beshachim meant to say. This is what he mean. In other words, in the second line, we said Beshachim says, "This is what he meant to say." Mudrani lecha. If I say I am prohibited from you, then shnei asurin. Mudrani, because I said lecha. Mudrani lecha. Again, that also you can question what it means, but that it doesn't necessarily seem logical. Mudrani lecha. I am prohibited to you. It could mean both. You're prohibited. You can't have enough of me. I can't have enough of you. But Rani heimecha. But if I said from you, I am prohibited from you, then who was b'chaver mutter? I can't have enough of you. You could have enough of me. Maybe that's what he means. In other words, that Rabbi Yosef Chanina said. Rabbi Yosef clearly said, "Mudrani mecha shnei and asurim." When is that? That's if I said lecha. I didn't say him mecha. I said mudrani lecha. But if I said hey mecha from you, then only one's asur. But Shmuel was going in the Mishnah. Well, Masnisan, if you look back at our Mishnah, based on what was the lashon in the Mishnah? Mudrani mimcha, for shani mimcha, mechani mimcha. There it's mimcha. Masisli Tani Heimecha or Mimcha, same thing. Who Kimnal Masisli Shmuel, and Shmuel said, Bukulan Achi Omer Shani Tomacha V'Shani Olchalacha. In other words, even though I said Heimecha, it's only Aser when if I said Shani Tomacha Shani, that was Shmuel's words. Amar Shmuel Bukulan Achi Omer Shani Chol Who Aser V'Chaver Mutter. Avon they're both Aser. In other words, if it said, if it's the Mishnah speaking about where it said Hey Mecha, becomes Shmuel B'Koran Achi Omer Shani Tomacham Shanacha Huda Aser B'Chaver Mutter Nashma Avon Drani Mecha Stam Shneim Asurim. So you can't give an answer and say, based on the Mishnah and Mem Zayin, it's mashma that Mudrani Memcha alone, right? Mudrani Memcha alone does not prohibit both of them. So I'll tell you what. So Gemara says, you know what? I'll tell you when it doesn't mean. If it said mimcha, then it's not both of them. But if I said modani lecha, then they are both aser. Lecha, they're both aser. But if it's heimecha, then only one's aser, one's mutter. But Shmuel was going on our Mishnah, and our Mishnah said heimecha, and what we said before was according to Shmuel, it's mashma, the top of the page. I'm brani heimecha lechude. They're both aser. That's what I problem. And we said. The Mishnah is going like Shmuel, B'kulan Ad Shiyomer Shani Chav Shemecha Huda Aser B'Chavero Mutter Avo Mundrani Emecha Shnei Asurin. I'm just repeating the words at the bottom of the page, bottom of yesterday's page. Elomer Shmuel Tamid Omer Shani Chav Shemecha Huda Aser B'Chavero Mutter Avo Mundrani Emecha Heimecha Lechude. If I just said Mundrani Emecha without talking about Achil at all, Shnei Asurin, like Rabbi Yosef Kanida. But now we said this doesn't make sense for the Mishnah. Later on, we see the Mishnah later on says that. In order for the both to be aser, you have to say, I'm aser to you and you're aser to me. Oh, okay. So the Gemara says that's only where you said where you said, hey mecha, I'm aser from you or you to me or me to you. But if I said lecha, or Rabbi Yosef when he said mecha, they're both aser, must be seeking where he said lecha. He said lecha, then they're both aser. But if he said hey mecha, then only one's aser. But Shmuel explaining our Mishnah, and our Mishnah said hey mecha. And he said, according to this interpretation that we gave at the top of the page, the interpretation of Shmuel was that if you said Shani Tomlecha, Shani Ilcha, then it's one's aser, one's mutter. Mudrani Hey Mecha alone, Shnei Masurin. Well, this doesn't fit in with the Mishnah Mem Zayin. Elemi Kara de Shmuel Hachitmar. What Shmuel said originally, we have to go back to what Shmuel said originally. What he said originally was as follows. Hachitmar. Why in our Mishnah did we say that what if you make a neder that way, or in the case it's a yad, they're also why? Because I said that I'm not going to eat. I'm prohibited from you. In what sense am I prohibited from you? Not going to eat from you. Right? We're changing out what Shmuel said. Not that if you said shani ochalacha, shani tomlacha, if I added those things on, then it's also. But if I didn't say that, also originally we said maybe it's not even usher. Then we said, well, maybe it means that they're both usher. Both usher doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Why? Because otherwise the Mishnah and Mem Zayin doesn't make sense. The Mishnah and Mem Zayin said, I have to say specifically, I'm usher to you and you're usher to me. If I said Stam Mudrani Mecha, they're not both usher. So you want to say, that's lecha. That's when he said lecha. They're both also. That's Pshat Rabbi Yosef Chanina. And the Mishnah is speaking about Mem Zayin where he said hey mecha. But our Mishnah and Daf Beis said hey mecha. And according to the interpretation we gave at the bottom or at the bottom Dam Beis and top of Hayam and Aleph, that Shmuel was saying if he said Marani Mecha alone, they're both usher, and that doesn't work with the Mishnah and Mem Zayin. So therefore, what Shmuel really said was we're going back to the original idea of Shmuel. Shmuel said this follows: when is it also in our Mishnah? Because I said I am prohibited from eating from you. Who the ain who also he's only also eating. Hamudrani mimcha. But if I said mudrani mimcha alone, right? Aser afilu b'hano. In other words, Mishnah says I can't eat from you. I'm prohibited from eating your food. Right? I can't eat your food. That's why, because I said I'm not. I mentioned food. I mentioned the food. I'm not going to eat from you. But if I just said I'm prohibited from you, then you're totally prohibited. Totally prohibited. I can't have any pleasure from any of your assets. Shmuel should say that. The Gemara says that's not really very clear. What are Shmuel's words? Amar Shmuel, period. Shmuel says in all these cases, where is it also if I said that I added on the second phrase? What is the simple pshat in that? If I didn't add on the second phrase, then it's not usher, right? That's what we want to say. So that doesn't make sense. We have brises which say that even the phrase alone, the partial phrase alone is usher. So we said, oh, maybe it means this. First we said, if I only said one phrase, they're both usher from one another. Both usher, this doesn't work in with Mishnah Mem Zayin. So he said, oh, I'll tell you what it means. If I added on and I said, I'm not going to eat from you, then it only refers to eating, prohibited from eating. But if I didn't say eating, everything is usher. If I just said, I'm prohibited from you, you know what that means? I can't have any pleasure from you, any of your assets, period. I can't have any pleasure at all. The Gemara said, well, if that would be the case, Shmuel should have been more careful and said it. Shmuel should say, and what's the girsa? Both in the Bach and in the Ran, if you look in the Ran, in the widest lines at the bottom, the widest lines, like 4 lines from the bottom page, if he didn't add on, in other words, if I just said I'm prohibited from you, and I didn't add on the words for food, that means I'm totally prohibited from you. That's what it would mean. That's what he means to say. Right? If Shmuel really meant to say that if I didn't add on the second phrase, I'm totally prohibited, he should have said that. All he says, Amar Shmuel, you have to say, otherwise what? Otherwise what? The simple explanation, if you look at the words on yesterday's daf, would be, if I didn't add on, then it's not us. I just say, I'm debarred from you, I'm prohibited from you, I'm separated from you. In what sense? Not clear. So I'm not usher at all. The Gemara then says, well, but we see in Bryce's that it is usher, even that phrase alone. So he went in to say, okay, he meant to say that if I didn't add on the eating, they're both usher from one another. That doesn't make sense with the Mishnah Mem Zayin. Okay, I'll tell you what it means. It means that if I didn't add on the eating, I'm totally prohibited from you. If that's the case, he should have said that. That's not clear at all. Shmuel should have said, he should have said, Im lo amar shani ochel lecha, asher afilu ba'ano. I should have said that. Ella shani ochel lecha v'shani ton lecha, ein asher b'chila. Ella, and should have said it that way. The Gemara is a little bit mixed up. You see with the aleph there, the Bach also says those words. Yachi leima Shmuel achi, Im lo amar shani ochel lecha, v'shani lecha, asher afilu ba'ano. I should have said that. Ella hachi itma. Now we come up with the final explanation in Shmuel. And this really goes back to the first way we learned Shmuel. We've had 3 ways to learn Shmuel so far. If I don't have the second phrase, it's not usher. It's not prohibited. If I don't have the second phrase, they're both usher from one another, both guys, Reuben and Shimon. Then we had a third interpretation. If I don't have the phrase of eating, I'm totally prohibited from you. Now we're going to go back to the first one. Why is it in our Mishnah prohibited from eating from one another? Because I said, who to usher? If I just said, I am prohibited from you, lo mashma. It's not mashma anything. We don't know what you're talking about. Prohibited from you from what? What are you prohibited from? The lo mashma da amar usher. Didn't say it's any usher. I'm prohibited from you. In what sense? Can't use your car? Can't use your pen? I don't want anybody using my pen. Everybody prohibited using my pen. What does it mean? My lo mashma da amar usher. My time up. Mudrani mimcha. When I said I'm prohibited from you, maybe it means this. I'm debarred from you. Well, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk. Don't talk to me anymore. I don't want to talk to you. Mashma, right? Maybe I'm separated from you. What does it mean? I don't want to do any business with you. I don't want to have any discussions with you. Mashma. I am far away from you. I am removed from you. Right? I'm removed from you. You know what? I don't want to stand. I don't want to go near you. Stay away from me. In other words, it's not clear what those means. The Ran brings out on the base that there's one interpretation that if I say those words that we just said, taka is usher. You know, if I just say Mudrani Mucha, it means that I don't want to talk to you. If I say Mushani Mucha, I don't want to do business with you. Literally, can't do business with them. If I say Muchakani Mucha, I'm far away. I don't want to be within your Dalet Amas. There's such one of the Rishonim learned that that's taka the pshat. You are separated. But the Pashup pshat in the Ran is he says no. If I said I'm prohibited from you or I'm removed from you, I'm forever, we don't know what he means. We don't know what he means. And if you didn't know what he means, if you know what he means, it means nothing because we don't know what it means. And this goes into the idea of Yadayim Shemechichas. If I said a handle which is not clear, it's not explicit, does it have effect or not? Shmuel says no, it has no effect. So what Shmuel is saying is
Yad by definition?
Isn't it what?
Yad by definition
is what?
Not complete. Not clear.
It's not complete, but at least it could be explicit. That's the question. If it's not explicit, it's not. It's a yad which is not mochiach, which is inexplicit. If it's inexplicit, A handle it is. Sometimes a handle, yad means it's truncated. It's abbreviated. I didn't finish it. But is it explicit? It could be explicit or not. In this case, if I just said I'm prohibited from you, I'm debarred from you, I'm separated from you, I'm removed from you, we don't know what it means. And therefore it's not considered a yad. Now it's going to be a machlokas about that. But what Shmuel is saying, we're going back to what Shmuel said originally. If I don't add on the word shani ochel lecha, shani tomcha, that I'm going to eat from you, or I'm going to taste from you, then we don't know what he means, and therefore he's not also at all. So the Gemara now says on Amud Beis, Leimak Savar Shmuel Yadam Shem Mechichas Levidam. This gets into a question. We're going to see other cases where I say a handle which is inexplicit, right, which is not explicit at all. Is that considered a handle? In other words, this is considered I'm saying something, or is it not considered? That's going to be what we're going to discuss now. So Itmar Yadam Shem Mechichos. Right? I mean, Leimak Savar Shmuel. Do we say Shmuel holds Yadam Shem Mechichos Elavidam? Gemara says, yeah, that's right. Ain Shmuel Mukam Masnisan. Shmuel says our Mishnah goes like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says the Amar Yadam Shem Mechichos Levidam. We're going to see in a minute where Rabbi Yehuda says that. But it's our Mishnah which says that you have to add on you have to also add on that I'm not going to eat from you, I'm not going to taste from you. If I didn't add on the eating or the tasting, then you know what? We don't know what he means. We don't know what he means, and therefore it's not usher at all. Because he owes Yadam Shem Mechichos Levidam. Where do you see? And he goes like Rabbi Yehuda. Where do you see Rabbi Yehuda says it? It's not. Gufo shoget. What is the essential part of a get? Man gives a get. Now we know a man divorces his wife, he has to give her a get. Right? He has to give her a get. Can he just say the words, I'm divorcing you, or go to court? No, it doesn't work the way. He has to write the get, they have to write the get, 12 lines and all that. And there's the Torah part and the Tophus part, there's the standard boilerplate, which doesn't have to be Lishma, but the part with the name and the date, etc. That has to be Lishma, that's the Torah that you have to fill in. Okay, what affects the divorce? Giving her the get, or his shliach or her shliach, but he can give her a shliach, she can accept with the shliach, but he has to give her the get in her hand or in her possession in front of Adam, right? Adam have to see it, that's how it works. So what's the essential part of the get? You are permitted to anybody. You have to say that. Remember, if a man says, I'm only allowing you to marry the guys in this city, that's not a get, right? It's got to be, she's mutter to marry anybody. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda says you got to be more clear than that. Maybe the get, if you just say those words, if you just write that in the get, maybe that's just like a document confirming his words. Maybe what affects the get is by him saying, I'm divorcing you. And that's just a confirmation. So Rabbi Yehuda says you have to add on more than that. Rabbi Yehuda says, V'dain, you have to add on in the get. You have to write V'dain and this, the havi lecha minoi, this that should be from you, this that I'm giving to you from me, is a sefer teruchan, a deed of dismissal, the igeres shavukim, and a letter of release. In other words, this itself, this get, you have to write in the get. The get itself is the deed of dismissal and the letter of release, both saying the same, those are effectively the same words. But you have to say that the get is what's affecting the divorce. It's not the way it works by Goyish courts. Goyish courts, they come and the judge says, okay, you're divorced. That makes the divorce. No, by Jews, what is it makes divorce? He's giving her the get, but Rabbi Yehuda says it's not enough just to give her the get and then the get you say you can marry anybody, because that's the yad. It's not clear what's affecting. Yes, it says in the divorce, I'm divorcing you, but what affects the divorce? My words or the get? So, or the document itself? Rabbi Yehuda says you have to write in the get, so it should be explicit and say this effectively, this deed, Dane, this document that I'm giving you is the deed of dismissal, the letter of release. Now, okay, so therefore Shmuel says, so what we're saying is, yes, Shmuel holds Yadam Shem Mechichos Levidam. And therefore in our Mishnah, if he didn't say that I'm not going to eat from you, I'm not going to taste from you, it's Yadam Shem, it doesn't mean anything. It's just like Rabbi Yehuda says in the Mishnah, by get, Rabbi Yehuda says if you didn't add on those words, Dain, Havi Lecha Minoi, it's not a get. It's not clear. Okay. My Dachak Shmuel look with Masnisen. You have Machlokas Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda by the get. So you should go like the Rabbanan, right? Yachab Rabban go, well, why do you go like an individual Rabbi Yehuda and not like the Rabbanan? Why did he say our Mishnah goes? Because that's what he's saying. See, effectively now, Mike, if you look back on yesterday's daf, we talked about Mudar and Mecha, it's Asr. Shani Yecha, Shani Asr. Just a half a phrase is also Asr. That Bryce will hold Yadam Shem Mechichos, Havi Yadam, like the Rabbanan. So why did Shmuel go like Rabbi Yehuda? So Amai Dachak Shmuel looking at Lamasis Rav Yehuda. Why did Rav Shmuel say our Mishnah goes like Yehuda? Why did he say looking for Rabbanan? Why doesn't he go like the Rabbanan? In other words, not just a question like he said the Mishnah. Why himself? Why didn't he go like the Rabbanan? Even though it's not Mechiach. In other words, why did he have to go? Who needed Shmuel? Why didn't just look at the Mishnah? The Mishnah says all those are usher. Any one of those 5 phrases. Any one of, you don't have to combine the beginning and the end. Any one of those is usher. That's not what Shmuel said now. Shmuel's saying, no, if you added on the beginning with the end of Talmud, then it's usher. If you only had on one of the first 3 phrases, it's Yadayim Shem Mechichas. Why did he say that? Why didn't he just learn the Mishnah? It goes like Rabbanan. Any one of the 5 is usher, because Yadayim Shem Mechichas is Yadayim. Amarav Mastis, because the Mishnah was difficult to him. Amai Tani Shani Ochel Lecha. Why did he say Shani Lecha? Shani Tom Lecha. Why do you have Lecha? Listen, Shani Ochel, Shani Tom. If he says I'm prohibited from you, I'm not going to eat. I'm prohibited from you. I'm debarred from you. I'm removed from you. I'm not going to taste anything. What is he talking about? Obviously, he's talking about you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, right? I'm not talking to somebody else. I'm talking to you. I say, I am removed from you. I'm not going to eat anything. I'm talking about, so obviously I'm not going to eat your food. Why did he have to say lecha? Because that's not clear enough. If I didn't hate the word lecha, it's not explicit. Yes, I'm talking to the guy, but it's not explicit him. Maybe I'm saying I'm removed from you if I eat any falafel from the local falafel stand. When I said shetamcha lecha, it's got to be explicit. So therefore, he felt that the Mishnah, by adding the word lecha, is showing that it has to be mochiach. Therefore, he held it yadayim she'ein mochichas is law of yadayim. Itmar. Again, this same idea of yadayim she'ein mochichas. In other words, in the Mishnah by Gittin, we'll see. We said there's machlokes Rabban Rav Yehuda. Does it have to be explicit or not? The Tanakam says it doesn't have to be. That's the Rabban. Rav Yehuda says it has to be explicit. Now we see that they're going to argue on those very words. Yadayim she'ein mochichas. Is it Yadayim or not? And apparently Abai and Rabba are arguing in the same thing as the get, as the case of Rabbanan and Rav Yehuda in the case of Gittin. Abai holds that even if it's not explicit, it's still considered a good handle, and it's considered, like a neder. And by the way, we've explained that in the Mishnah we had neder and a kinui and a substitute and a yadayim. And we said we explained the yadayim first because it's a drush, he lives out of a drasha, but it doesn't mean that it's a drabanan, right? According to the shita that we had, that the substitute is words that the Chachamim made up. Okay, so you could say the Chachamim made it up, and therefore it's more like a drabanan, even though kinu is generally considered to be a deraisa. If you say it's just a foreign language, it's certainly a deraisa. But if it's a drabanan, you could say the rabbanan added those words also. It's not really a never deraisa. But a yad, even though, how do we learn a yad from Nazir Lahazir, right? From that drasha, but if you learn out of a drasha, it's still a doraisa. And the Ran pointed that out on yesterday's daf, that Ray says in the 4th line on daf Dalam base, said, the others, Lamalkus Nami Maislu. In other words, when you learn out of a drasha, it means it's still a doraisa, and you get malchus there too. You wouldn't give malchus if it's not a doraisa. So whether the way we learn Pashup Shat, the Nedarim, whether it's a neder or a kinu or a yad, in all cases it's a doraisa. And if you're over on that with a maisa, you would chayav malchus. Okay. So Rava, who says Yidam Shemichichas Lo Avidayim, really like what Shmuel is saying now, the way we've interpreted Shmuel, the Yidam Shemichichas Lo Avidayim. Rava, Rav Idi asked, what Rav Idi explains to me as follows. Why do we say the Yidam Shemichichos, if it's an inexplicit, it doesn't count? Rav Idi asked, we explain like this. Amar Kol Pasuk says, Nazir Lahazir Lashem. Remember, how do we know not Yadayim from Lahazir, that extra word? And it didn't say it as Lahazir Nazir, but it said Nazir and then Lahazir. So the way that the formulation of that word, which isn't the normal way to speak, shows you that Yadayim are also. But it's next to the word Nazir. Nazir Lahazir teaches Masiyad. Nazir is a regular Naziris Lashem. Makish Yados Naziris Naziris. So there's a hekesh between the Yad, which is learned out from Lahazir, to the word Nazir itself. Ma Naziris Bafla, just like Naziris has to be explicit. In other words, here the Ram brings down a whole case here. The man says, I want to be a Nazir if Yankel over there is a Nazir. And he didn't know at the time if Yankel's a Nazir or not. If Yankel's a Nazir, I want to be a Nazir now too. Okay, I want to start being a Nazir if he's a Nazir. He didn't know if Yankel's a Nazir or not. Later on, he found out. That's not good enough. If you hold it, because it's not clear. It's got to be very clear at the time you're saying you're a Nazir. If you're a Nazir, at this point, you're not clear because you don't know if Yankel's a Nazir or not. So just like a Nazir has to be clear Bahafla, it's got to be a clear utterance. Afiros and Zir is also Bahafla. So that's Raviti's explanation for why Yadayim Shemachichas is not Yadayim. Okay, because you learn now it's got to be very clear. Hafla, it's got to be this Bahafla, Kiafli, Lindo, Neder, Lahaz, it's got to be clear and a clear utterance. Afiros Zir is Bahafla. So Lema Bapukta Rabbi Rabbanik Mifki. Okay, we have this machlokes now by and Rabba. Is Yadayim Shemachichas Havidam, and Abaye says it is, Rabba says it's not. Just like Shmuel. But that seems to be the same as the Mishnah of Gittin, that the Rabbanan say, even if you didn't say Deina v'chaminoi, this document itself is the letter of release and the deed of dismissal and all that. Even if you didn't say that, the Rabbanan say it's good enough. And Rabbi says, isn't that the same machlokas? It's not, like we just had above. What's the essential part of the get? That's what the Rabbanan say. You don't have to be any clearer than that. Just say, you are free to marry anybody you want, right? You are permitted to marry whoever you want. Rabbi says, no, it's got to be clear from the get that the document itself is what releases her, not his words. Rabbi Yomer, and here he quotes the same Mishnah, but he has on another phrase of the get, where he says, this document should be to you from me, Sefer Teruch. And again, a deed of dismissal, the get Peturin. Here he adds on two more words, right? It should be a document of discharge, they call that, your discharge, the Gereshvukin, and a letter of release. And as he has on very clear, it's obvious that you don't really need all the Lashonos, but it's got to be very clear that this document itself is the document that releases you, right? So, Abaye goes like Rabbanan, you don't have to add on that business about this document itself should be the letter of release. For Rav holds a computer. No, you have to have it. That's got to be very clear. Abaye will tell you no. I know the Amri. I feel Rav Yehuda. Abaye, who says Yadam Shemachich, says clearly Yadam Shemachich is Havidam. I can even go like Rav Yehuda, who says in this mission Yadam Shemachich is Havidam. I'd come like Rav Yehuda, but Yadayim Machichos. Where do Rav Yehuda say you have to have Yadayim Machichos that a Yad Shemachich Havidam? Elagabi get the mean increases. By get, it's got to be a very clear cutting off. Can't be any question about the get. It's got to be very clear. Reuben ben Yaakov is divorcing, Leah Bas, whoever, right? It's got to be very, very clear. So you can't fool around, right? You can't have it. Can't be. It's got to be lishma. It's got to be clear. It's got to be very, very clear. So there, Rabbi Yehuda says Yadayim Sheichis. Maybe only in the case of get, it's got to be very clear that it's the document itself that's releasing her. You can't have any question at all. You need a krisis, because God says v'nasna safer krisis. It's got to be very clear that it's cutting her off. So you have to be explicit, right? And if you didn't say this should be the document of release, then it's not explicit. Maybe his words are divorcing her. But who says the Rabbi Yehuda holds to that elsewhere? In other words, Abaye will say, Rav will say, Abaye will say, right? Abaye who says that Yadam Shemachich is Havi Yadayim, even if it's not explicit, it's normally good. Rabbi Yehuda says over there that it's not good unless you have it explicit. That's because it's a get. A get has to be krisis. Maybe over there Rabbi Yehuda holds that Yadam Shemachich lo Havi Yadayim. But normally maybe he agrees with me, or I agree with him, or he could agree with me. I can go like him too, that Yadayim Shemachich is Yadayim. Normally it's good. It's only in the case of get that it's not good. For Rava, and Rava who holds that Yadayim Shemachich lo Havi Yadayim, he'll say the other way too. Another Mefil Rabbanim. I can go like Rabbanim. Why? What is Rava saying? I normally hold Yadayim Shemachich not Havi Yadayim. In other words, what does that mean in our case in the Nadarim, like Shmuel, that what? That if I just said Mudrani Mimcha, I am removed from you, I am prohibited from you, we don't know what you're talking about. Nothing is also. We don't know what that means. You didn't say clearly. If it says I'm prohibited from you eating your food, then we know what that means. But if I just say I'm prohibited from you, we don't know what that means. That's what Rabba says, like Shmuel says that. Rabba says that. Why? What about by Gittin? Where the Rabbanan say you didn't have to say Dain L'Chavim Rod. Rabba, I know that I feel Rabbanan. I told him Rabbanan. Where did the Rabbanan say over there? You don't have to have mechichos. Why? The lo bin yadayim mechichos elagabe get. Why? The einan megashasation chavero. If I'm divorcing you, what else? Who else could be divorcing you? Of course, it's. I don't have to be so explicit there. Say I'm divorcing you. This get yadayim shemechich. The way to say gufo should get or have. That's good enough. You don't have to say this should be a clear thing for me. This document should be to you from me a letter, a writ of divorce, right? You don't have to say that. Who else could be divorcing her? It's obvious that it's him, and it's obvious that it's the get which is divorcing her. In other words, Rava will say normally Yadayim Shemachich lo Havi Yadayim, and if I only said Mudrani Mecha, nothing is usher. But in the case of get, even I said in the essential part of get, you wrote, that's good enough. It's obvious that I'm divorcing you and nobody else is divorcing you. And it's the document. Why is the document written? Because the document is what's divorcing you. We don't need anything more. We don't need anything more explicit than those words of in the document. But in a normal case, in the case of Nadarim, could be not every dime. So we have this machlokas between Abai and Rava. It seems to me that's the machlokas between Rabban and Rabbi Yehuda. Also, that's what the Gemara said, that Shmuel held like Rabbi Yehuda, the dam shem mechilus lavi dime. But Abai and Rava can each say no, that I can go like both of them. Abai could say I can even go like Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda only says dam shem mechilus lavi dime in the case of get, because it's got to be in saving reasons. And Rava will say no, dam shem mechilus lavi dime. What about the Rabban who say over there in getting the dam shem mechilus havi dime? Because over there it's very clear. It's I'm the only one who can be divorcing you, and it's very clear that this is the document which is divorcing you, not the words. All right, we'll pick up from here tomorrow. Mention from Meisva. Yeah.
Could you give an example of a yad that is mokiach and a yad that it's not mokiach?
Okay, here we have the two examples here. The case of get. Get.
Forget about get.
Yeah.
Just
Or Nadarim, Lacha. In other words, Shmuel, how did Shmuel learn the Mishnah? We said, why did Shmuel say Yadayim Shem Chis? Because he says, if it wasn't clear, I just said, I am separated from you that I won't eat. Right? That's Yadayim Shem
Why
Chis.
is that a yad? Isn't that just a netter?
No, it's not a netter. It's not a netter. Because I didn't use the word netter.
You Mudrani. That's
Yeah, okay. Mudrani, yeah, but I didn't say Hareini, that. Mudrani alone, it's not, I just said, yeah, I'm making a netter, but it's not clear what. It's not clear what the netter is. You're right, there is a netter. But I didn't say what the netter is.
Right.
I didn't say, that's the problem. I'm making a netter, but it's not clear what the netter. It could be in another form. It could be I didn't say the word netter. Could be, but over here it's Mudrani, I didn't use the word netter, but in what sense am I separate from you? Or even if you say Mudrani, in what sense? So that's called Idam Shem Mechichas. If I said Shani Ochalacha, right? Shani Ochalacha. So Shmuel saying that even according to the Rabbanan, right? We're saying Mudranim Chalon doesn't mean anything, right? Because that it doesn't mean anything because we don't know what that is. Right. But he's saying that even if I did say Shani Ochel, but I didn't say Lacha, right? That's also, he says that Mishnah. Why does the Mishnah say Yadayim Shem Mechichos Lo Habi Yadayim? Right? Why he said why did Shmuel say that? Because it's mash from the Mishnah. Because otherwise it would be Yadayim Shem Mechichos. So if you, in our Mishnah, Shmuel says in our Mishnah, Midran Lecha Shani Ochel Lecha. That's also that I can't have enough of you. But if I wouldn't say Lecha, then it would be Yadayim Shem Mechichos. Then I wouldn't be Asur at all. Just like Mudrani Mechalon doesn't mean anything. If I would only say Mudrani Ani Lecha, Shani Ochel, maybe it means I'm prohibited from having Noah from your tefillin if I eat it, or I can't eat your food. I can't eat some food. Shalom's falafel or something like that. It didn't say your falafel. That's not clear. So from the fact that the Mishnah say Lecha shows you that it's got to be Yadayim Mochichos. If it's Am Shem Mochichos, Lo Havi Yadayim. That's Shmuel's opinion. Understand? Now, the Ran adds on that
100% on what the truncation is.
I didn't say I am here.
What makes what he says a yad?
Yeah.
And then what is the
he didn't finish.
And what is the yad that is mokiach? What is the yad that is not mokiach?
Right.
So to be a yad that is mokiach, it's like a neder.
Right.
I mean, it's not. I don't understand.
Between because it's still not complete. You didn't say it very explicitly. You didn't say it very. Yad Shem Mechiach means that it's not clear at all. Yad Shem, it's not clear at all what you meant. Midrani Mimcha. Midrani Mimcha.
Then it's like nonsense.
But it's almost like it's not even that at all, right? It's not. That's also brought down to the Ran that it could be Yadayim Shem Mechichos that it's nothing at all. But that's basically the idea. Yadayim Shem Mechichos means that it's inexplicit. It's not clear. It's not clear what you mean. It's not clear what you mean. And what is clear? What is clear? In other words, in our Mishnah, that's also a yad. Because I said Mudrani Mimcha Shani Ochelecha. Not so clear. It's not the same as I'm making a netter. I'm hereby vowing that your food is also to me, like that. A netter would be your food is also to me, like a carbon. your food is usher to me like a carbon. That would be a netter. A kinu means your food is usher to me like a konim, which is another word for the netter.
Okay.
And a yada is, like you said, mudrani mimcha, I am debarred from you, shani ochelcha, if I eat your food, something like that. Not so clear. Not so clear. It's not as clear. Yeah. But it's no, but it's like you didn't say this is also to me like a carbon. A regular net is this is also to be like a carbon. This is prohibited to me like hektish. Right. That would be the netter. Right. No. But I'm saying this piece of meat is also to me like a carbon. That's a netter. If I say anything that's not like, I don't use the word carbon at all or a substitute for the word carbon, that's already a yad. Like here, I didn't say like also to me like a carbon. All right.
These incompleteness, it's fully in the jar.